Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Welcome back to the Wobble Enjoy Sports channel. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Wasn't a very happy weekend recently. This happened. I only got 3 correct tips. I'm sitting at 57 out of a possible 96. I've dipped under 60% by half a percentage point. But we just got to get back on that horse again. We got to ride on. It's got to keep going. Round 13 of the 2023 season begins on Thursday from KO Stadium in Redcliffe. For the first time ever, the Dolphins take on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. This is the first ever trip to Redcliffe for the Dragons. And on tab.com.au, the Dolphins are favourites at $1.53. The Dragons are $2.50 outsiders. A milestone, a huge milestone for a Dolphins player, Jermaine Azarko, who is currently leading the competition for points scored. He plays his 100th NRL game this Thursday night, so congratulations to him. And as far as Wayne Bennett goes against the Dragons in recent times, he hasn't lost to the Dragons since 2018. Primarily, he hasn't lost to the Dragons since he moved on from the Brisbane Broncos. So if you recall that round one, that famous round one game where Ben Hunt scored a try against his old club, and then the Dragons went to Suncorp in the semi-finals and defeated the Broncos handsomely in 2018. That's the last time that a Wayne Bennett coach side has lost to the Dragons. Both these sides missing 2 of their best players because of State of Origin, and the entire round is obviously State of Origin affected as well. Hammer and Ben Hunt is out for both of these sides. And without further ado, let's get stuck into the team lists. In at fullback for Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is actually Cody Nikorima. Jermaine Azarko and Tessie New are the wingers. Ewan Aitken and Brenko Lee are the centres. Anthony Milford returns, with Isaiah Katoa keeping his spot in the half-pack position, with Milford being the 5'8". The forward pack reads Bromwich, Herman Sasa and Marshall King. Kenny Bromwich moves back into the back row because Felice Kofusi has been suspended for 3 weeks for knocking out Christian Welch for half a second. Connolly Lemuelu and Ray Stone start. So Tom Gilbert is missing from the Dolphins as well. So the back row reads Bromwich, Lemuelu and Ray Stone. The interchange for the Dolphins reads Jared Wallace, a returning Mark Nichols, Mason Teague, and Valence Havawe is going to be in jersey number 17. And just looking at the reserves list there, you've got Edric Lee and Jeremiah Simbikin as well on the reserves list. Shifting over to the Dragons now, wouldn't be too many changes, but we've got Tyrell Sloan at fullback, Fangai and Ravalawa, Lomax and Sully, and Talatau Amon will be the 5'8", with Jathan Sullivan being the halfback. And the forward pack reads the Molo brothers are going to be the starting front rowers, with Jacob Little being in the hooker position. Blake Laurie fractured his hand, and he's going to be out for at least a month, so quick recovery to him. And Jack Bird, Murdoch Masilla are the second rowers, and the captain is Jack DeBellin. The interchange reads Moses Mbai, Toby Couchman, Jaden Hunt, and Josh Kerr. And just quickly, Paul Turner. Paul Turner can play in the halves, and he has been named in jersey number 22, so he must be nipping at the heels thereabouts. So Jaden Sullivan needs to have himself quite the game as well. Completion rates, as so far as the Dolphins go, they're the best, or one of the best in the league, and they score plenty of points as well. So they hold on to it and they know how to use it. Different circumstances for the St. George Illawarra Dragons as well. I don't know how they're going to go. I don't think we all know how they're going to go without Ben Hunt. I don't think they're going to be afforded the same luxuries against Wayne Bennett. Dolphins up at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. You think about the Tigers at Leichhardt and or Campbelltown. KO Stadium, Redcliffe is exactly that for the Dolphins. It's only their second match this year. It's their second last as well. I'm going to tip the Dolphins to, I don't think 13 plus, but I think it'll be like a comfortable 10 or 12 point victory towards the men in the red and gold. Friday night football emanates from Combank Stadium. We see Parramatta Eels taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. This is the 46th meeting between the two sides, and it's the Parramatta Eels who lead it with 23 wins, 21 losses, and one draw. So it is close between these two sides, but not on tab.com.au. The Eels are $1.20 favourites, and the Cowboys are $4.50 outsiders, and the line has been set at 14 and a half. Oh man, that's huge, but can you blame anyone? So let's go straight into the team list news now. So Gutherson is at fullback, Sevo and Sean Russell are the wingers, Penaseni and Simonson are the centre combination, Dylan Brown, Mitch Moses are the halves pairing. That's a full strength, or pretty much a full strength backline for the Eels. The forward pack reads Wiremu Greg, Josh Hodgson, and number 10 for some reason just isn't showing up on my screen. But okay, so Bryce Cartwright, Matt Dury, and Jermaine Hopgood are the back row. There is no name for the number 10 who's filling in yet on NRL.com. Interchange reads Ogden, Hands, Luca Moretti, and Makahisi Makatoa. I'm not too sure if that's a debut for Luca Moretti, but if it is, congratulations to him. But even so, back in first grade, well done to him. And just quickly, well done to Josh Hodgson as well. Of course, there's a milestone game in this contest against the Cowboys. His 150th NRL first grade game takes place this Friday night. So congratulations to you, young man. And speaking of young men, let's get into it. So Scott Drinkwater is at fullback, Felt, and the Papua New Guinean international makes his first grade debut on Friday night. Robert Derby. Yes, you are going to be in for a treat. He is a good player. Zach Laybutt also makes his first grade debut this week as well. Brother to Kyle, or cousin to Kyle Laybutt. Not too sure of the family tree, but anyway, Peter Hiku is also in the centre position too. Ben Hampton also returns to first grade, and he partners Chad Townsend in the halves because Tom Dearden, such a massive loss, man, just to be 18th man for Queensland. The forward pack reads Jordan McLean, Reece Robson, and Cohen Hess, Luciano Leilua, Hylam Lukey, and Jake Granville in the lock position. So we go into the interchange now. Jack Gajewski, Fenefuiaki, Tonua Brown, and Griffin Neame. Ooh, that's a good return. Griffin Neame returns in jersey number 17 off the bench, who's going to provide a hell of a lot of punch, and he needs to as well. Going into the reserves list now, we do have Jason Taumalolo named in jersey number 22. And on the other side, on the reserves, you do have Dejan Arce named as 18th man for the Parramatta Eels. For two sides who have the exact same amount of wins on the NRL ladder, there is a world of difference between the two sides. First and foremost, only by a single point, Parramatta Eels are the most potent attacking side in the NRL at the moment. This is the first trip to Combank Stadium for the Cowboys since July of 2020, where they got pumped 42-4. Since 2020, the Eels are 3-1 against the North Queensland Cowboys, and North Queensland are looking for just their 9th ever win in Parramatta against Parramatta, of course. The last time that these two sides played in that 42-4 romp at Combank Stadium in 2020, Mike Acevo scored 4 tries that night, and it was Kyle Felt who was opposing him that evening. So get your shoulders ready, bro. And just some more stats. The big one that blares out to me, it's first versus 14th when it comes to post-contact meters. The boys, they leaked like a sieve last weekend. They're coming up against the best team in the competition by a way in post-contact meters, so they need to steal up man. The Eels are fourth for kick returns as well, so that line needs to be fast moving, bro. Because Gutherson, I think he's having a terrific year. I really do think Clinton Gutherson is having a fantastic season, and also. The Eels are first in the competition for offloads, whereas North Queensland, again, they usually are down the bottom of the list when it comes to offloads, but they're 12th. They're 12th in offloads, whereas Eels are first. The main hope, our main hope in this game is that the Eels are the second worst team in the competition when it comes to handling errors. So we're hoping that the Eels handle that ball like a cake of soap, but they were very impressive against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. It wasn't a very entertaining game, to be honest with you. But the Eels did really well to keep the South Sydney Rabbitohs at bay, man. Chad Townsend in at halfback. I know Ben Hampton has got some veteran-like qualities in him as well, man, but Chad Townsend's got to lead this team around the paddock. Scott Drinkwater needs to tackle some barbed wire for the next couple of days. And come out just absolutely ravenous, bruised, and ready to rock and roll on Friday night, because that backline, man, Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses arguably had their best games of the season on Friday night. Gutherson's having a great year himself. I do think that we're pretty much even. I think maybe even we might have a little bit more class in the forward pack. So I do think it's the back line of the Eels taking on the forward pack of the North Queensland Cowboys. But then looking at the interchange bench, I do think that's relatively even. So if the Cowboys can actually bring their A game, they're a huge sneaky hope in this game, bro. At $4.50, when you know that Junior Paulo's not playing, Regan Campbell-Gillard as well. I know that backline with Brown and Moses is still 100% full strength. It's a pain in the whatnot, but what can you do, right? But Madison and Sean Lane, they're missing for the Parramatta Eels as well. So if the likes of Luciano Leilua as well in that second row can have themselves some blinders, I think we're a huge shout. I really do believe that we can go down to CommBank and be a massive shot. And I'm really looking forward, like the rest of the NRL world is, to seeing how the Cowboys respond on Friday night after leaking 60 points for the first time since 2010. Cowboys 1-12, man. It's going to be a thriller, and come on, you Cowboys, let's get the season back on track and only end up being 2 wins outside of the 8. Super Saturday features 2 contests, and game number 1 emanates from McLean Park in Napier, further down south in New Zealand. And on tab.com.au, the Warriors are $1.43, whereas the away side, the Brisbane Broncos, are $2.85 outsiders. One team is affected by Origin, the other one isn't. Guess which one? This is the 47th meeting between the two sides, and in some circles, Warriors fans reckon that the Broncos are their greatest rivals, just because there is that sort of heritage, or that piece of history that the Warriors' first ever opposition was the Brisbane Broncos. But it's 25 wins to the Broncos, 20 to the Warriors, and there's 1 draw thrown in there as well. And there is a pattern between the Warriors and Broncos. Since 2017, it's gone loss, win, loss, win. And there's a draw thrown in there, but it's gone loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, with a random draw thrown in between. So that's a 7-match pattern that goes like that. And if the pattern continues, it's actually going to be a Brisbane Broncos victory this Saturday afternoon. The last time these two sides met was at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. That's a game where Thomas Flegler absolutely lost the plot and got sin binned twice and pretty much cost his team, to be honest. He had an absolutely diabolical afternoon that day. But the Warriors got the better of the Broncos, 20 points to 6. So let's go into the team list news now. This will be interesting. So starting with the home side, of course, Chance Nuku-Klukstar is at the back. DWZ and Montoya are the wingers. Berry and Pompey are the centres. Luke Metcalf, there you go. Luke Metcalf makes his Warriors debut in jersey number 6. Is that his first grade debut? I can't remember. I don't think it would be, but Sean Johnson remains in the halfback position. The forward pack reads AFB, Bunty Afoa, and Lussick starts in jersey number 9. So Wade Egan looks like he's succumbed to Something. So, okay, so Wade Egan has been named. I'm not too sure why. Maybe I'll find out in a sec. Ford, Niokore, and Harris make up the back row, and the interchange reads Sirinen, Curran, Sifakula, and Tom Arley. Ronald Volkman has been named as jersey number 18 as well, just to mention. So, going over to the Brisbane Broncos now, Tristan Saylor has been named to make his first grade debut in the fullback position. He's had a terrific year for the South Logan Magpies, and it still continues on. The wingers are Jesse Arthurs and Dean Mariner in the other wing position. Staggs and Farnworth are the centres, and Mam and Reynolds are the halves combination. Palacia, Jensen, and Walters make up the front row, whereas Capewell, Ricky, and Hetherington make up the back row. Pakes, Willison, Piakora, and Marty Tapau make up the interchange bench, and Jock Madden, Tyson Smoothie, Deloise Hoyter, they're all named in the reserves list as well. I give the Broncos a sneaky chance. I mean, Adam Reynolds returns. I think he returns. No, did he play? No, yeah. So he does make a big return for the Broncos after missing last weekend's game against the Penrith Panthers because of concussion. And that's not particularly full strength. I don't know. I just get uh, a bit of a weird vibe from the Warriors team list. I don't know why Wade Egan has not been named to play. This is an interesting game because the Warriors, they're going to be dealing with the favoritism tag big time against one of the top four or one of the five teams that are leading the NRL at the moment. So there's a bit of expectation about the Warriors this Saturday. Luke Metcalf, he returned last weekend or the week before in New South Wales Cup, and by reports he smashed it. I am going to tip the Warriors here, but not by 13 plus. I think this is going to be a really close game, but I do think they have the forward pack to rumble all over the top of them. So the Warriors in McLean or at McLean Park in Napier. And the main event on Super Saturday and the game of the round, in my opinion, is South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Canberra Raiders from Accor Stadium. The Rabbits and Canberra Raiders cannot be separated as they are both $1.90 on tab.com.au. There's a couple of real stats here if you're a Raiders supporter. This is the first match played at Accor Stadium for the Canberra Raiders since the 2019 Grand Final. Further to add on to that, only 3 times the Raiders have played the Rabbitohs since 2014 at Sydney Olympic Park. They've won all 3. So they're on a 3-game winning streak against South Sydney at Accor Stadium. The last time the Rabbitohs defeated the Raiders at Accor Stadium was in 2013, and all those games were 13 plus, big 13 plus points victories. One of them even being a 50 points to 6 esque scoreline towards the Raiders about 5 or so years ago. But if you look back just to last season, these two sides only met once in 2022, and that was at Apex Oval in Dubbo. And the Raiders belted the South Sydney Rabbitohs, I think about 32 points to 12 or thereabouts. Josh Papali'i, that was his 250th first grade game, so they just trampled all over the top of the South Sydney Rabbitohs big time in that game. Let's go into the team list news now. Blake Taff is at fullback because Latrell Mitchell is playing State of Origin. Alex Johnston and Tane Milne make up the wingers. Isaiah Tass and Campbell Graham make up the centres. It's a weird story, that Campbell Graham, over the past 48, 72 hours, isn't he? The halves are Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias. The forward pack reads Totola, Cook, and Sele. The back row reads Cheekham, Host, and Knight. The interchange reads Cartwright, Tallis Duncan, Shaq Mitchell, and Daniel Soluka Fafita. And then we move on into the Canberra Raiders now. Sebastian Chris is at fullback. Hopawade and Rapana are the wingers, and Croker and Timokor are the centre pairing. Jack Whiten and Fogarty are the halves pairing. And then the forward pack reads Papali'i, Wolford, and Pasami Solo. And we've got Corey Hadawiranira, Corey Horsburgh, and Joey Tarpany in the front row. The interchange reads Starling, Gula, Nick Chotrich in jersey number 16, and Atta Mariotta in jersey number 17. What I understand is that Elliot Whitehead um, has been injured and will miss the next 4 weeks, I think. But to add on top of that as well, uh, this forgive me, but I saw on twitter.com that Dave Riccio reported that Elliot Whitehead uh, chose to not take a fine and will miss 2 games to add on top of the injury that he sustained in that game against the Sea Eagles this past Sunday. So, massive loss there. Elliot Whitehead out for the next little while or so. A couple of the key matches going up into this game. You're going to have Rapana versus Alex Johnston on one side of the paddock. You've got a full strength, and this is the key to the game. You've got a full strength halves pairing. From either side. But then you've got Damien Cook, who was unlucky, in my opinion, to not even be popped into the squad, to be honest with you. I didn't think he deserved to be dropped out of the squad completely. Um, I actually did even have him as my starting hooker as well. So Damien Cook is going to have an absolute blinder. You can absolutely put that in the bank already for sure. He's going to have an absolute blinder. Yeah, Nick Chotrich is an interesting one coming off the bench. So they're a little bit more mobile, I guess. The Raiders are in comparison to the Rabbitohs, and you don't say that too often. You don't give that sort of edge like that to the Raiders forward pack as far as mobility goes. They're usually just big brutes. They still are with the likes of Tarpany and Papali'i, of course. But Corey Horsburgh as well will be defending on an edge, and don't think he's gone all right. I don't think he's played all right whenever he's had to play in the second row, has Corey Horsburgh. So this is a great game. And the massive storyline going into this one is Jack Whiten is taking on his team from next season. So there's going to be a bit of spice in this contest. Can't wait to sit down and watch it. And I'm buggered if I know who I'm going to tip here. I think I am going to give the edge to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. If Campbell Graham plays, I do. If Campbell Graham doesn't play, I might have to flip a coin and maybe even change my tip altogether. But I wasn't anticipating to tip him, but I'm going to tip the South Sydney Rabbitohs to get the job done against the Canberra Raiders on Saturday night. But it's going to be a great game. And the final game on for round 13 is from McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. The Knights are hosting the Manly Sea Eagles. And on tab.com.au, Knights are $1.38 favourites. The Sea Eagles are $3.10 outsiders. If we get a game, anything like the one played earlier this season in Mudgee, that pitted these two clubs against each other for a 32-all draw, we're in for a friggin' belter, but I don't think we're going to get it, unfortunately. Let's go straight into the team list news. Kalen Ponga wasn't selected to play in Origin. He reverts to the full-back position. Dominic Young and Greg Marzu are the wingers. Gagai and Best are the centres, and Gagai is another story as well, man. How he wasn't selected in Billy Slater Queensland Trusts, I guess. Tyson Gamble and Jackson Hastings are the halves pairing. The forward pack is Daniel Saifidi, Phoenix Crossland, and Leo Thompson. And also, Daniel Saifidi, it's his 150th first grade game this weekend. So congratulations to him. The back row reads Jack Johns, Fitzgibbon, and Elliott. The interchange reads Lockie Miller, who's been dropped down to the interchange bench. Jacob Saifidi, Jack Hetherington, and Matt Croker round out the interchange bench. Going into the Manly Sea Eagles team list news, Weeks is at fullback. Saab and Garrett are the halves pairing. Parker and Kohler are the centre pairing. Josh Schuster and Cooper Johns are the halves pairing. A little bit surprised to see Cooper Johns there. Probably just a bit of trust incumbency, I guess, because Jacob Arthur from Parramatta has been picked up by the Manly Sea Eagles, and Jacob Arthur on the way out the door was given the Parramatta Eels fan base a couple of these ones. Taniela Paseka, Lachlan Croker, and Sipley are the front rowers. Olo Kawatu, Fainu, and Kepi are the back row. Interchange reads Tuapolotu, Carl Lawton, Bullymore and Ben Condon, and just having a look at the reserves list for both. So Jake Arthur is on the reserves list for Manly, and you've got Kurt Mann for Newcastle, who's got jersey number 22 on the reserves list as well. This is for the one game only being on Sunday for free to air. If it is anything like the game in Mudgee, we're in for a cracker. But on paper and based on form and whatnot, this is sorry, Manly and Newcastle fans, this is an ugly game, bro. But I'm going to tip the Newcastle Knights here, and I think they've got a bit more starch about the Sea Eagles when they're at home. I think they're going to be really fired up for this game after putting in a pretty disappointing performance, a really bad effort against the Sharks last weekend. So I'm actually going to tip the Newcastle Knights to win this game 1-12. That's it for me this weekend. Thank you very much for the continuous support, guys. I'm going to go wash me face up now, and hope you all enjoy the footy. Hope your team wins, except for the Parramatta Eels. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. And with NRLW around the corner, with State of Origin, both male and female, just around the bend, a lot of content coming the way of yous on the Wobble and Draw Sports channel. So again, thank you very much. Take care. Adios.